Yo, Scrawny with the Skinny, back at it with another Fantasy Land. You know what it is, you know what we do, and you know how to do it. Rule number 1, you know best. Rule number 2, talk that shit. And rule number 3, make sure you guys have fun. But don't have too much fun. That's the asterisk. If you have too much fun, you end up drafting double mouse, going into IEM Rio, and throwing away your chances at a top tier finish. Okay? I told you I was locking in exertion. Last second, decided to go in on the Torzy play, and within 2 days of competition, 2/5 of my team gets eliminated. But luckily for us, the big man upstairs, Apex, Vitality, they pulled through. Awesome performance from them to win the event. Really cool that Vitality pick up a trophy straight ahead of the Paris Major. I mean, this just puts them into the contender, field, and that makes things so interesting. And luckily for us, Jabby as well was a part of the draft. So 3 grand finalists of the 5. Even though Mouse tanked this, we still finished top 38%. I'm going to take that, man. I did a massive gamble in on Mouse. Had I just picked 2 Navi players as I could have with ease, this could have been, up where we wanted it to be. But whatever. 6 points. 6 points on this celebrity leaderboard. A celebrity leaderboard that we're still within that top 10. I told you, I'm not dropping out. We're fighting tooth and nail. And I'm sitting at 9th with a comfortable little gap between the majority of the pack that's still behind me. Awesome finish this event from Lucy, top 1%, 16th place overall out of every single drafts for her with this one. So now she's going to be the contender trying to take down the Swiss man of Maniac. P2's losing a little bit of steam. Hawka's still glowing from his previous draft. Prof made some flavorless, vanilla, double heroic, double Navi bogus bullshit. And now he's in the top 5. So that's where I still want to end this season. And I see Pimp, Launder, Sponge all ahead of me, definitely within striking distance. They better keep their heads on a swivel. You know what I'm saying? But without further ado, we've got another draft. And I didn't expect to have to do a draft. I thought we'd be waiting for Paris. But apparently, we've got Brazy Party 2023. I don't know what this is either. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know. I don't know, but we're doing it, okay? Brazy Party 2023. We're doing it. This, to me, has CCT Malta written all over it, right? One of these crazy events where wild stuff can happen. It's all online. It's in Europe. There are some very interesting teams playing this right ahead of the major. For some of the tier 2 teams that qualified for Paris, this almost ends up being their IEM Rio, albeit online. It's another chance to get some good competition versus some better teams who did or did not make it. Cloud9, Big, but then pulled off still impressive moments over in Rio, right? These are good competitors, and there's a solid chunk of change on the line, $333,000. I love the format. First and foremost, I love the format, right? We've got 4 groups, GSL, 2 teams from each group go on, 8 playoff teams, single elimination. If there's any padding at all for this event, then I think it'll be given to the teams that clear their groups 2-0, as the second and third place teams have to play in a 1-1 game. So other than that, it's very straightforward. It's best of 3s, and I'm down. I think it's really interesting that we've got Pain in the mix. We've got a, at the moment, top tier North American team going over and dabbling in EU competition prior to, there's just a lot to get excited about. So let's run it through group by group. I'll tell you which ones I think are close, which ones are clear, and who I anticipate to make it through the groups and into the playoffs, and then deep in the playoffs as well. Now, again, this is a weird one because, listen, fantasy points are fantasy points. An opening best of 3 win is just as heavily weighted as a grand finals finish. Yes, you get more games towards the end, but these early points, I think, can really set up some different varying drafts to ultimately compete with what might be just picking favorites. So I'm very curious about this event. If you guys have any weird drafts, if you guys are taking a risk as we get to the tail end of the season and you feel like you're getting pushed into a corner and you got to fight back, let me know what you guys are up to, okay? Take it down to the comments. So Eternal Fire and Apex, OG to Godsend. These are the opening games as well. Green to green, red to red. I expect that OG is going to look decent here. I think OG is actually a slight sleeper pick in this event just because they should be able to clear this group. Should be. Because Eternal Fire have Xantares, Emor, Calyx. Those three guys hit hard. Apex is a team that is being kind of touted within tier 1.5, tier 2 CS at the moment as guys who are practicing incredibly hard, have the results at the RMR. Although against some lesser teams, their most impressive win versus Bait, they're capable. They're capable of upsetting OG, who we saw weakness within, but we also know can lean on the likes of Degster, on Flames. But I'm going to paint OG as topping this group, and then Eternal Fire or Apex as second. Group 2, Pain versus Into the Breach. Now, I didn't get to watch much Into the Breach. We were doing the Americas RMR, but it seems like a team people are starting to believe in, right? However, big. Okay, we're talking online Counter-Strike. I want my draft in this event to be comparable to what I did back at the Blast Showdown. If you guys don't remember that, that was Cloud9 and Big. I cut out Fnatic. I kind of put a flag up on 9, but didn't personally put my draft on them. If I'm not mistaken, that event was actually one of my best finishes so far this season. So, Big online, and after what we just saw in Rio, plus their price tags, I'm putting Big at the top of this group. I think you could definitely justify Pain. If you were to tell me Pain is the better team, I don't even know if I would argue with that. But it's just the fact that their cost at the moment is inflated because of all the NA teams they get to beat up on in the meantime. And while you've got the likes of Skulls being the top-rated player at the Americas RMR, we don't know how that transitions once they get to Europe. Yes, they pulled it off at Pro League, so they can do it. But will they do it again in this next European run? Or are we going to get a hot and cold Pain as they jump back from the Americas to Europe? I'm not sure. So I'm going to go in on Big personally once we get there, and I'm going to say Pain is the second team to get out of this. But interchangeable. To me, that 1-2 is essentially tied, and it just comes down to the head-to-head between them. Group C, ENCE. ENCE are going to demolish SAW. They don't stand a chance. Right now, SAW are nothing but a punching bag when it comes to, well, playing teams like ENCE. Sadly, I hate to see it. It's like what Movistar Riders were 3 months ago before they started to show some improvements. We haven't gotten to that point of SAW's life. So ENCE win their opening game, and with Astralis versus Gamer Legion, dude, I don't know how to call that. Because it's online, Astralis showed us some decent stuff. I think we get a better version of Buzz when Astralis are playing online, and then that means Astralis actually have a 3-player core. But this is also Astralis without Xyp9x. Now, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't really know. I don't know enough about Altex, even though I've seen him a little bit in the Academy League to really know how he's going to slot in and what they're going to do with him. But seeing how they have elevated Buzz, at least in an online environment, bro, if they can pull that off with Altex, maybe Astralis are going to be a team we can talk about. I'm going to say ENCE top this group. And I'm going to put Astralis above Gamer Legion. I still think Device, Blame F, that's enough. We're going to get a good buzz. So ENCE and Astralis out of Group C. And then Group D, this is going to be Stomp City. Cloud9 versus Sprout, done. Sprout just cut Azure. 45 days on the team before they took out their IGL. And 9, well, they proved it in Rio that even with travel, it's not going to slow them down. And we're going back to the online realm where they had made a name for themselves. Hades looked excellent at the RMR. They've got op dominance. Goofy's bringing up the floor of this team. Cloud9 and 9 get out of this one. Although I think maybe Imperial could take it to 9 a little bit. They flopped in Rio. They flopped at the RMRs. But I'm always wary about Imperial, man. I feel like they're just there to ruin somebody's run. Now, of course, if Imperial beat 9 in the opening game and then 9 has to play Imperial again at a 1-1, I'm going to give it to 9 the second time around. So no matter what, Cloud9, 9 make it out. Those are my expectations for this. We don't know what happens in playoffs, but those are the teams I'm flagging. I think OG in Group A actually has one of the easier roads, and that's a team that could end up farming some easy fantasy points. But let's draft. All right, let's get into it. So I believe in Cloud9's ability online. We're not going to go too far down here. I'm coming off of a high risk, no reward with Mouse. You know, I'm kind of licking my wounds at the moment going into the major. I'm not going to start drafting scared, but I am going to bank on playing favorites. I think I've had a trend lately of leaning too heavily into teams that aren't going to make it to a grand finals, that aren't going to make it to a top 4. And even though I believe in certain individuals within that team, we know that, fantasy's formula is essentially based on wins. If you're not winning, you're not playing enough games. And if you're not playing enough games, you don't even get your chance to farm. So straight up, when I look at Cloud9, Shiro's too expensive. We don't have the likes of Apex or Kerrigan to make, these really big price tag picks really worth it. Axile, I think, online and as of late has been kind of mediocre. He's just been sort of mid. He's not showing us his best. Whereas Hobbit is the guy who is picking up that slack Axile's leaving behind. The core of this team in Shiro, Axile, and Hobbit is on fire right now. Individually, they are on fire. Mechanically, excellent. And I think Buster is also showing us reasons to believe in him over Nafany when it comes to a head-to-head between them as the lower price points of this team. We've watched Buster's price tag slowly grow as Cloud9 have continued to play because he was always in this like 195 to 202 type price point, but he didn't have the recent games played in order to prove it. Go look at his stats. There's some red bombs, but there's also some really promising games where he's the guy who goes 20 kills or above to bring up the floor for Cloud9. And if they run into any troubles, I think Buster helps them out. So Hobbit and Buster, the double pick of Cloud9. That's the core for this draft for Brazy Party 2023. Then you've Ents. You've got Pain, who, as I already alluded to, are currently inflated. Everybody in their core 3, 213 to 216. It's still affordable. It's not insane. It's not like Nertz, who I wish was like 220, because he is turning out to be the real deal. It's just, it's right there. There's a slight chance maybe I get crazy and pick a Pain player, but I really think, in all honesty, the odds are like 10% that I would put somebody from them in. Even though I said OG have an easy run, and even though I said Device and Blame F and Buzz play better online, I'm looking at Big next, folks. I'm a big believer. It's a little bit of the fact that they just took a scalp off Mouse, which now I kind of put my energy into Big. And again, it's online. And again, I'm trying to mirror my Blast Showdown draft because it went so well. In that draft, I was in on Cloud9, I was in on Big, and I'm going to do that twice, all right? We're back within their realm. Now, as of late for Big, Keto has been impressing immensely, all right? Tried to carry the team at the RMR, didn't pull it off. Went into Rio, had excellent games there as well, got into the quarterfinals. Like an impressive moment from Big. And Keto is bringing up the floor, right? For 192 as the cheapest player on this team, you could keep your eyes on him. You could justify the pick. But I want to red flag this as Keto's online performances are actually some of the worst for Big. There is a substantial drop-off. Of all of the players on Big, Keto has statistically in the last month, in the last 3 months, the biggest drop-off. So that makes me a little bit nervous. Will he take these last 2 events in form and run that into the online realm, just proving this wrong and just showing that there is an uptick genuinely across all forms of competition? Maybe Keto does it. But if he bombs, I won't be surprised personally. Who does not bomb on Big ever? Who is their most consistent? Well, that's not true. He's time to time, Crimbo gets a little quiet. But Crimbo and Favin are the onliners of Big, and I love that. And I love Favin's price tag at 197. But I think it has to be Crimbo. I think 209 can't be ignored. He's affordable, and he was a key piece to our last big draft. So I'm going to go Crimbo, and I'm going to go Keto. A double Big pick with the Keto red flag. I know it's a little sketchy, but I'm comfortable with it because I think that this recency is worth more than a few wonky online results in the past. So Hobbit, Buster, Crimbo, Keto. And that leaves us with 187,000. I know your eyes are immediately drawn to Nafany, but we've got 2 C9 players. You look at Snappy because Ents have been playing great, and he could ride the coattails of Nertz, and sometimes in blowout games, Snappy does go above and beyond. But with how easy their group is, and with the fact that beyond Flames and Degster, Neofrag, Nico, and Fiku are all incredibly similarly rated, particularly online. Fiku takes a little step ahead of the rest. We're going Fiku again, man. I got a thing for Fiku, and I've got a thing for OG in this one just because of the fact that their group looks easier than the others. The only problems they maybe run into are Apex and Eternal Fire. Both those teams, do you really put a lot of stock in comparison to OG, into comparison with Degster, with Flames, and with the bottom of this team now being risen up alongside Nico's calling, which Degster has prayed? I think Fiku will be fine. I don't anticipate a lot once he gets into playoffs, but we've got two C9 and two big players for exactly that. I think Cloud9 and Big could be finalists in an online stage. I think that they could definitely be semi-finalists. Anything shy of that, I'd actually be quite disappointed in these four players. So here we have it, baby. Hobbit, Buster, Crimbo, Keto, Fiku, the Warriors. Because now the gloves are off, all right? We're gonna be letting loose in these last few events of the season. If I am truly going to break into the celebrity leaderboard's top 5, then I've got to start swinging. And so I'm doing it with the Warriors. Hobbit on defender, Buster on leader, because Cloud9 probably pick up this win. Support for Crimbo, multi-fragger Keto. It's not the best, but we have to free up headshot for Fiku, because he just activates it at like 50%. Now, if you want to make a little bit of a change, okay, you've got options. I'm not going to show you too many for this one, as I'm quite confident in this draft, but I will show you one that goes Crimbo Favin, cutting out the Keto, okay? This is a situation where I think Keto could just underperform. I expect much better from Favin. It's only $5,000 more, still keeps it very, very affordable, and I think you can bank on Big. I really feel that you can bank on Big for this event. Without Cloud9 as a core for your roster, I do feel like I'm falling back into the same trap I did with Mouse, where this is a team that maybe gets cut out by quarterfinals. But listen, I still finished top 38 with Mouse, having gotten eliminated in the first 2 days. So trust in the process. You pick up Diha from Ents, as they have Astralis and Gamer Legion to worry about in their group. Diha online, beyond Nerds, best player for Ents. And I think that, you know, I'm kind of leaning away from Oppers sometimes, because if the economy's not rolling, if it's a tight game, if the op starts to fall off, I think a guy like Sunpayas is not going to be getting you as many fantasy points as somebody like Diha. Diha's role and weaponry is just more affordable and more consistent. So I'm putting him in. I'm banking on the Buster uptick at 192. And now I just kind of want to talk about this last option again, right? You've got Nafany and Snappy. Very similar price points to our other boy Fiku. These three guys sitting mid 185. I think we always talk about survivability, and Nafany in tight games, in close situations, yes, he should be earning you more points because of Cloud9 wins, but when he has bad games, he dies a lot. When he dies a lot, he tanks his rating. And a player with no rating and a win isn't worth much in fantasy. I'm worried about the same thing with Snappy. Whereas a guy like Fiku just has more survivability. And every once in a while, he'll have a top frag performance. You don't get those as often from Snappy and Nafany. Although, yes, in the last Blast Showdown, Nafany had a very high-rated event. But that green has been just buried in a sea of red ever since. And I don't think, again, with recency in mind, it's the reason I take Keto, that Nafany is going to be a good pick. If you're between these three players of Nafany, Snappy, and Fiku, I'm telling you, it's Fiku all day. So that's it. This is the next one. This is Brazy Party 2023, the event you didn't know you were going to have to do, but you're really grateful I put out this video because now you know what to do and how to do it. And if you don't do it and you do something different, tell me what and why. Talk that shit. Don't be shy. But remember, I know best. Catch you guys in the next one.